Peterson Toscano here, talking about the story of Sodom. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. A story that outlines the horrors of homosexuality. Well, actually, no. The story has nothing to do with the gays. You see, God, in human drag form, visits Abraham and explains that because of its wickedness, God is going to destroy the city of Sodom. Abraham persuades God to not destroy the city if God can find at least 10 decent, righteous people. Can't be that hard, right? So God sends 2 servants to the city of Sodom to check it out. Think of them as ancient UN inspectors seeking out wickedness worthy of mass destruction. There they meet Abraham's nephew, Lot, who, like Abraham, offers hospitality. Come to my house, have some food, some drink. I'll wash your feet. Well, not me, myself. I've got 2 teenage daughters and a wife to do all that for me. So they're having a lovely evening in the Lot household when suddenly there's a pounding at the front door, and all of the men in Sodom, young and old men, gathered out front of Lot's house and demands that Lot sends out these male visitors so that they could have sex with them. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I said this story had nothing to do with homosexuality, but it appears that we are about to witness some man-on-man action. Well, it's not exactly like the men of Sodom gathered in front of the house and said, hey, why don't you bring these dudes out? We can maybe have a drink and a meal, do a little dancing. One thing might lead to another. No, what they had in mind was public humiliation, gang rape. What they had in mind has nothing to do with what happens in the happy homes of lesbian and gay couples, and much more to do with what happened at, say, Abu Ghraib prison. Well, this disturbed Lot. He stepped outside and tried to reason with his neighbors. Friends, neighbors, please don't do this wicked thing to these men who have come to my house for my protection. And then, adding a disturbing, modest proposal, he says, now listen, I've got 2 daughters inside, virgins, never been touched. How about I send them out to you? You can do whatever you like to them, but please, please don't bother these men. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. That's pretty gross. Well, it didn't work anyway because the man of Sodom, I guess they had a hankering for male flesh that night. But lucky for Lot, the 2 visitors turned out to be angels in disguise, replete with superpowers, and they cast blindness on the mob, thus creating a momentary diversion so that Lot and his family could escape. The angels warned them, God is going to utterly destroy the city. Run for your lives, and as you go, do not, under any circumstance, look back. Just go. Don't look. So Lot, his wife, and 2 daughters, who, by the way, have no names in this story, leave the city and escape. Now, Lot's wife, maybe she's just not good at following directions. Or maybe she's one of those contrary, rebellious women. Or maybe she knew she left something precious behind. Her friends, the other women, and their children, who somehow in this census taking of good and evil people did not even get counted? Well, whatever the reason, she refused to turn her back on that destruction. And whether it was God's punishment against her, or maybe she was overwhelmed with grief, we don't know, but at that moment she turned into a pillar of salt. Lot and his daughters continued their escape, land in the hills, and safely settle in a cave. If we continue to read this narrative in the book of Genesis, we will discover that next, Lot gets drunk, has sex with both of his daughters, and they somehow get blamed for it. See, we do not want to get our ideas of sex education and family values from this story, because this story, it's a mess in so many ways. This story is not about sex. It's definitely not about homosexuality. If anything, we might be able to draw some ideas out of it of how it is appropriate or inappropriate to treat guests and loved ones in our midst. You see, we have the idea of sodomy all wrong. When we have someone in our care, within our borders, on our streets, in our prisons, in our schools, in our very homes, we sodomize them when we treat them like shit.